Hey M&Ms, we are kicking season 3 off with a bang. In this episode, we are interviewing Yarixa. I love saying that name, Yarixa. Yarixa is the founder of Unleash, and Unleash is a mini Burning Man style event. You're actually going to hear a lot about it because after interviewing her, I attended one of her events. So definitely something to look forward to. And before we dive into the interview, there's a couple of things I want to share with you. Number one is I'm really excited about this season. Season 3 is going to do a deeper dive into subconscious blocks in programming and also focus on expanding and transcending our upper limits, breaking through that glass ceiling so we can allow more love and joy and success and passion into our lives. I've really been focusing a lot on conscious connections and aligned success. So that is what you can look forward to in season 3. The second thing I want to share with you is if you've been tuning in or following me for a while and I've inspired you, I invite you to join Abundant and Aligned Society and have me as your conscious accountability partner. I am sending you text messages directly to your phone 3 times a week for accountability and to remind you that abundance is your birthright. You will also receive sound therapy recordings and access to a private community. So if you are ready to have me as your conscious accountability partner, go to niajae.com/society for more information. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, where we are inspiring you to ditch the outdated beliefs, release the blocks, and fully embrace your sovereignty so you can confidently expand to allow more love, joy, and aligned success in your life. I am Niajae, your conscious accountability partner, reminding you that abundance is your birthright. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning into the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? I am so excited about today's guest. If you listen to my shame episode, I mentioned this beautiful woman that just captured my attention on social media. She was dancing and she was liberated, and it inspired me so much, and she is here with us today. Her name is Yarixa, which is so exotic, but we can call her Coach Yari. And I'm so excited to dive into her story and how she started the Unleash movement. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you and with the people listening today. And yeah, wow, it's been a journey. Unleashing yourself is a process, right? To really undo all of the programs that we've ever been taught or conditioned to be in, and finding your own truth. And that's what I did, was just to find my own personal truth through it all.
I love it. I love it. Before we get into your story and diving into how you started it, I want to ask you, what does abundance mean to you?
Abundance feels like you're always supported and always taken care of. It's like you're a trust fund baby of the universe. It's like, yeah, the universe has your back in everything. And abundance doesn't just mean monetary abundance. It means abundance in rich relationships, abundance in how full your life is, abundance in, yes, of course, monetary, it's just not specific to one thing. So it's a feeling of fully supported.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So tell us, I want to go back to before you were unleashed. So I saw that you said, let go, be free, and own who you are. And usually when someone has a powerful message like that, at some point they didn't feel free. So let's go back to before you really expressed that liberation.
Absolutely. So before I owned who I was, I would say that because of my upbringing, and I'm from Puerto Rico, and I got to the US at the age of 7. And so that was a culture shock in and of itself. And then I moved to Tennessee, in which I didn't quite fit in. and I wasn't Black and I wasn't white. I was this Puerto Rican kid. And so therefore I was bullied and made fun of, and just really felt uh, a lot of suppression of my being. And I didn't know quite how to relate. And so what started to happen for me is that I started to dim my light. I started to dim my exuberant, that childlike innocence, to try and fit into a mold. And that occurred from ages like 8 through 12. And it took a while for me to start to come out of my shell. So the original point in time where I started to come out was when I was in 10th grade. And I used to look not at people's eyes. I used to look down at the floor when I had conversations with people. And in 10th grade, these two boys that were in my math class, they were like, Yari, why do you always look down at the floor when you're talking to people? And I was like, well, I don't know. And I looked down at the floor again, and they're like, okay, well, that's a sign of insecurity. So we're gonna practice you looking at us in our eyes when you talk to us. And that was literally the first breakthrough. And it took me about 3 days to practice that with them. And then forever and ever, I've been able to look at people in their eyes. So that was one of the first things. Then my senior year, I got into theater, because I was so deathly afraid of being rejected that I was like, I can't continue to feel entrapped in my body. And so therefore I did the thing that scared me the most, which was putting myself right on stage to either be liked or not liked, right? And extremely vulnerable. And after that started to take place, then I started to come out of my shell a little bit more, especially in theater, because you do all these weird exercises and, things that get you out of your comfort zone. And then, little by little. And then thereafter, I joined, to do a fitness competition at the age of 19. And that was the beginning of the embodiment of becoming free. And part of the reason why I did that, in reflection back, because I didn't quite know why I was doing that back then, but it was to prove myself. I wanted to prove, to the world how strong I was and how, I could be this powerful being. Yet I didn't actually truly feel that. And I won, the trophy, got the trophy in my hand. Yet after completing that fitness competition and having the perfect body, I felt even more miserable, because now, holy shit, I have to keep up with now looking this way for the self-worth validation that I am strong, that I am powerful, that I am whatever. And, the eating was very strict. And once I started to gain a little bit of fat, I'm like, oh no, I have to go back on the treadmill and get myself, in shape to the standard that I'm wanting to pose out into the world. So I was, it's like an enslavement of this image. And when you do it in that way, you're always going to fail, because you cannot do it from an external standpoint. It has to come from within. So spirituality began for me at the moment that I was like, wow, I'm more miserable than I was. Why am I happy, sad, dependent on, if people like me, and also men also got involved into that picture, because my body was the thing that I thought, oh, this is what allows me to attract men. And when I would break up in relationships, I felt unworthy. And so it just was a continuous process of leaning in to what was me inside of me. And it just, I started to undo the programs of being on a cardio treadmill and undo the programs of working out super hard, because I used to work out 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. I mean, it was tedious to just have this image to be approved of and be worthy, and looking for an external validation to tell me that I'm worthy, when we are born inherently worthy. And so we have to find that within ourselves. So it took meditation, it took ayahuasca, it took leaning into everything that I was ever afraid of, like speaking in public was a thing. So I signed myself up to do the thing that scared me the most consistently. And therefore I started to break open, because on the other side of freedom, and this is a really powerful statement, if you can like hear this message, is fear is the mask that freedom wears. So if you like go towards it and you peel off the mask, freedom is right there. And so is love, because love equates to freedom.
I literally have chills. So powerful. Oh my goodness. So much gold in what you just said. And wow, like I'm still just like taking it all in. But I think that it's true. We find these external things to validate us, but abundance is our birthright. Like we come into this world like magical, dynamic beings, and then we forget and we try to find different ways externally to validate us, when really it's just that internal validation, that internal love. And just so much gold, so much gold. so
Yeah.
so once you went on that journey, then how did Unleash, and the way that I see Unleash, I haven't been to Burning Man, but when I was explaining it to a friend, I'm like, she does this event that's kind of like a Burning Man mixed with ecstatic dance, and that's how I described it.
Yes.
So for someone who doesn't know what Unleash is, how would you explain it?
Well, yeah. And I also want to go back into a little bit of that story where I used to say, in my next time life, I'm going to be a dancer. I used to always like watch the television shows where, you know, it was like these dancers in full self-expression. And I admired them so much because they looked so free in their fullness of expression with no limitation. And for me, I was like, I'm too old to try and be a dancer now, right? Because it wasn't until the age of 35, I'm about to be 39 this year. And it wasn't until the age of 35 that something in me just couldn't contain the expression. And I had to fully dance like no one was watching, because my spirit was dying. Like I felt like I was dying inside of myself. And that moment, actually, that year I went to Burning Man for the first time. So actually it does relate to Burning Man. But even before I got to Burning Man, I had a ceremony where I was with 4 friends. And in that ceremony, the music came on and it was this Brazilian funk. And I literally took off all my clothes. Okay, so this is an extreme. I took off all my clothes right in front of them and twerked like you wouldn't believe. It was just like this, like this excitement and just allowing all of it to come through. And they were like, whoa, you know, and it was just because it was so in me. And I think it's in all of us. And I think that when I went to Burning Man, it took place where the last day of the burn, this man just walks in the room. I was already dancing freely, but he was already being attracted to the vibration at which I was, and expanded that even more. And so when we danced together, it felt like I had danced with him for 20 years. Like we were performers. And at the end of our dance, we were like, holy fuck, what just happened? And the entire place of where we were, people were just watching as if we were performing. And it was in that moment of, at Burning Man, there's a frequency of freedom that you just get. It's like home. You're like, oh, here I am. I can be whoever and whatever I want. And that's what I ended up adopting. And my friend who was watching, she's like, whoa, Yadi, first you're going to be in my music video. What was that? And then it was like, she's like, and you got to do this for work. And I was like, I know, but I don't know how. And the how didn't quite matter. I just knew the feeling was inside of me. So about 2 weeks after Burning Man, it was like a week or 2 weeks after, that I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to create this thing that I don't even know what I'm going to create, but I'm just going to, I think it looks like I'm going to bring these women. And at first it was just women that I felt comfortable. I'm going to bring women into the space, and I'm just going to guide them into a level of full permission. And because I was being the frequency, it was nothing that I was trying to do. I was already that. And so bringing them into a space where they could feel full liberation, that would naturally take place, because what would happen is that they're seeing the freedom in me, which is their own freedom that they're seeing within themselves. And so they got to access that feeling through me being the walking example of that. And that is how Unleash started. It wasn't called Unleash back then. I just called it because I had a program called the Soul Body Method, and it was a different way of going about being in shape and losing weight. And it's unconditional self-love. So when I just called it Soul Body Dance, and I just acted upon it, not knowing what the outcome would be. I just followed the feeling. And those 10 women that ended up showing up to the space, all of them, by the end of the 2 hours, unleashed themselves at a level that they hadn't before. And they were moving and gyrating their hips and just allowing that full self-expression. And then little by little, I got to a place where I actually recoiled. And this is an important part of the story, because sometimes it could happen that we go full out and then we get fearful again. And that's okay. And in that place of fear, I was like, oh my gosh, is this really what I'm supposed to do? Is this my work? And because like the second time I did it, it didn't quite result in the way that I thought it would. And that's what started to have me doubt and question. It's like, oh, is this it? So throughout that experience of the recoiling and me diving back into myself and really honing in on what this thing was, another powerful message came through, because I was praying to God. I was like, God, just please, like, allow me to be clear on what's my life's purpose. And I think in the question and inquiry, we do get answers. So it's important to ask something other than your own mind. It's not a linear thing. You just leave it up to source or connection with a higher divinity of yourself, because it's still you. And what ended up taking place was it was on the day of my birthday that same year. And I asked for clarity that day. And so I went to an event and I was dancing, just being in my element. And at one point I was playing with confetti on the floor, just doing confetti angels. And this is a sober event, by the way. I'm just being like, this is just me. And this one girl says, she's like, oh my gosh, I want to play with you. And I'm like, perfect, it's my birthday. And she's like, oh great, well, what do you wish for your birthday? And I'm like, I just want clarity. And 30 seconds after I said that to her, I'm like, all right, guys, see you later. I'm going to walk to the other side of the room. And I'm walking to the other side of the room. And this lady keeps staring at me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm catching her staring at me as I'm passing her by all the way on the other side. And her stare was so strong that it stopped me in my tracks. And then she walks up to me, literally grabs me by my arm and pulls me into her. And she says, you're meant to dance. You're meant to bring men and women with you. You're meant to be on stage. You're meant to activate the space. And you got to do it now, and you got to do it fast. And I couldn't leave this room without giving you this information. So for me, I literally just went whoosh. And it felt like I just started bawling, like just tears, because when you know truth, like for me, that's how it hits me. It's a knowing that, of course, this is what I'm supposed to do. And any more crystal clear than what I had asked, it couldn't have been. It wasn't like a sign on the wall. It was like somebody delivering a very clear message to me, telling me what I'm here to do. and I took the bull by the horns. And then it's like, I heard a DJ playing. I was like, oh my God, that's the sound. I want that DJ to be part of this experience. And this is for men and women. And this is not me playing something on a playlist. And so that was born through the inquiry, through the following, through action, even though I didn't have all the pieces together. And then Unleashed was truly born. And in the first event, I had 75 people show up through word of mouth because of my level of excitement. I was telling people, I was like, this is the most liberating thing that you could ever do. Come to my event, I'm telling you. And so 75 people showed up, and little by little, within 2 years' time, it got up to 180 people just through word of mouth, just through my social media connections. And I just had the vision, and I basically broke it down backwards. Right? So it wasn't that I had the plan of how to do it. I created the vision, worked from it backwards, and saw the pieces coming together. And that's when really unleashed itself, and it was born. And each one has a specific theme. So it's almost like I actually created something into my field of consciousness that allows me to unleash myself, because every time I show up, I have to be the frequency of what it is that I'm showing up for. And so at every single one, I'm more unleashed and more unleashed. And to the point that there was one event that I did that my nipple covers just came off because it was sweaty. And I was like, well, I guess this is how I'm going to show up. And I showed up topless. And then 6 women come in and are like, oh my God, can we do that too? And I'm like, of course, this is Unleash. And to be in a space with men and women together that you feel so safe, that you don't feel sexualized in, is one of the most blessed experiences and most freeing experiences that you could have, because we dance not to we've been conditioned to do it for a reason, or like people gather that, oh, she must be dancing like that to get attention, or, you know, to get something. And really what we want to do is express. We just want to be free. We just want to express ourselves. So that's what was happening. And the men in there and the women in there were just doing it to be free, not to get something from someone. So it's been such a magical experience. And I believe truly that expression is one of the fastest ways that we come into ourselves. And through dance specifically, because it's non-linear, because it's a spiraling of sorts, and it's a spontaneous movement at every second, that we first and foremost drop into our body, right? So we connect with the present moment. Our mind starts to go away because we're here and now, and new streams of consciousness start to come through us, and our ideas, innovation, who we really want to be, because we're connected to our heart and our spirit. That's when our true self starts to come online. It doesn't mean that everybody is here to dance and then unlock themselves to be a dancer necessarily, or to host something like I'm doing. This just happens to be my dharma. But it took the dancing and that level of expression to open me up to what is inherently what I am here to do. And I believe that through voice activation, through breath, through meditation, through dance and expression, we get to unlock our magic.
Oh my God, so powerful. So there was a moment, like the camera is like on you, but there was a moment where I was like teary-eyed, because I'm like, I feel it. I felt it just watching your video. So I actually used to own a dance studio. So dance is like my first love. So when I saw your video, like I could not take my eyes off of it. And I did a Facebook post about this and a podcast episode where I talked about shame, because I was like, what is it about this video that is just pulling me in? I'm like, is it the fact that, you know, she's half naked? Because I've been coaching for a while, and women make comments about like my cleavage, or like like how I dress, because I dress a little more sexy than like, I guess, the average coach. And so I'm like, is it that she's dancing? Because dance is my first love. But I know that being a studio owner, I always felt like I had to be perfect. I had to dance a certain way. There was more pressure on me because I owned the studio. So I was never able to just be free and dance where, like, however my body wanted to move, just do it. I had to look a certain way because, you know, my toe had to be pointed and my form had to be right. And so there was something inside of me that was just like, this is the liberation that you are craving, and you're seeing it in this woman. And I just was like, it was like,
Totally.
So I 100% like resonate with just, you know, you embody that feeling that we all want to be free. And it's really interesting because I feel like I'm very expressed more than like the average person, but there's a whole nother level that I haven't explored. I express myself fully in a safe way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so there's a part of me that's just like, that next level is calling you. It's calling you.
Yeah. Yes. And, you know, dancers actually, so it's interesting, right? Because sometimes we see dancers as really free. And oftentimes what your experience has been, right? You have to perform to look a certain way. And there's a standard, and you're being critiqued and criticized and looked at. And so it doesn't quite allow you to be free. And the dancers that have come in, because I had a woman, she's Cirque du Soleil performer. She actually, I brought her on to teach a heels class. And even the men were doing it, was fucking hysterical. And what she said to me, and many dancers that are professional that have come to Unleash have said, I can actually feel myself because there was no performance. It's just you allowing yourself to just be expressed without the pressures of the world. And, you know, and also, you know, the reflections that we receive, right? So for instance, you said about your cleavage, that there's women that might have a criticism around that. There's a part of you that's still believing that there's something wrong with you showing yourself like that, even if it's the most minuscule part of you. And that when a woman comes in as a reflection, hey, I don't like what what are you doing, or whatever the criticism is, it's only here to show you where you're still believing it, right? And so that's the opportunity that we have when somebody comes to criticize us. Where in me am I still believing that reflection is still coming to me? Because I'm at a point, I haven't experienced that. And as naked as I've been in front of people, because I'm so careless, truly careless, that they're more inspired than wanting to criticize. They're just like, they don't even know what to do with the information that I'm relaying. And if there is someone that is finding themselves triggered by me, I love it. I love it because I'm activating a part in them that wants to be free. And so I express from a loving place, like, you know, that's actually their stuff at this point, because I'm so clear within me that I'm just here to show you a full reflection and a reverence of who you could be and how you could show up. And it doesn't mean that you have to be naked. It just means that you get to show up however you want. And who cares, because you are living your life. I am carefree at this point, and that's exactly how I want to show up.
If you were looking for a sign, here it is. This is your reminder to not settle, to know your worth, and to follow your bliss. This is a reminder to maintain alignment and show up in your fullest expression. Abundant and Aligned Society is an accountability program to remind you that you are a powerful being and you deserve to live the life you truly desire. Go to Niajae.com/society to join in on the magic, because life is meant to be abundant.
I just invite for all of us to check in, like if somebody gives us a criticism, how we feel about it and how we relate to it. And there's still something inside of us that wants to prove or hide again. There's something for us to look at, right? And that's the opportunity. It's everything's an opportunity to look at ourselves. And it's like, I'm at the point where it's truly about being your sovereign self, right? I selfishly will give to me so I can selflessly give to you. Period. I'm not going to go out of my way to make you comfortable. I'm going to fully be me so I can give more love to you.
I absolutely, absolutely love it. So if someone was like, okay, I want to be that clear of who I am. I want to just fully embody like my truth, my fullest expression. How would you explain, like, if you had to give them like steps, step by step, how would you explain that?
Okay. So a few things. Understand your desires, right? Like, what do you really, how would you, if you had no limitation, how would you want to show up? That's step one. Step two is when you're feeling contracted in your body, when something occurs, that is the moment of opportunity to lean in. It's to not run away from it. It's like, oh no, that's uncomfortable, I can't go there, because usually we have a tendency to do that, to like actually how do I say, like push it aside or disregard it. It's actually a moment of, okay, what am I believing right now? What does that mean about me when I'm shown this particular trigger? Like, okay, I'm contracted. What am I feeling? I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling confused. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling inhibited. I'm feeling sad. Feel the feeling. Don't run away from the feeling. The feeling is here to literally give you the freedom. It's like when you feel it, when you embrace, when you love and accept that that's what you're feeling, then you feel it and then you can move on. It's like a child. If you watch a child, they will go through a slew of emotions within like 10 minutes time, right? They can be throwing a tantrum, go into tears, go into screaming, then go into laughter, right? Because they're just accepting themselves in the innocence of what that is. There's nothing wrong with the feelings, but there is some belief systems that are creating those feelings. So if it's a negative emotion like sadness, anger, judgment, resentment, anything that makes you contracted, that's an opportunity for you to expand. And so it's like, okay, I'm believing this because my mom had told me that I was being too sexy and to put on clothes. I don't know, I'm just making an example. And when somebody criticizes me, I'm believing that I'm being too much. I'm believing that I'm being a slut. I'm being too risque. And that's not acceptable. But says, where was that passed down from? Is it truth? That's the next question you ask yourself. Is this really true? Is it true, like factual, like gravity? Like gravity is a fact that we are not floating. Gravity pulls us down. We're anchored in on this planet because gravity is factual. Or is it an opinion? Is it a belief that was adopted somewhere down the line that I've believed as my truth, but that's not really my truth? And I feel like those are the steps to take. So let's desire. What do you want? How would you show up if you were unlimited? to what are the things that are having you contract in your body that you don't want to feel or experience. Lean into it, accept it, love it, and then you can move forward, right? And adopt a new belief about yourself. It's like, let me see if I can give an example of adopting a new belief. There was one time where I was working at a gym, and we had to approach people at the gym as we were like cleaning the stuff, and ask them how they were doing and how are you. And there's this one woman that responded back to me like with a like why are you asking me, like, sort of thing. And I went into my rejection, right? Because that's what I experienced as a kid, and that was really painful for me. So I went into contraction, like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? How did I approach her? And it's because there was a belief that I want everyone to like me. And that's why it hurts so much, because she wasn't liking me, right? Or it appeared to be that way. Let's just say it appeared, and it never has anything to do with you, period. It's her shit, right? It's always their stuff. But I made her uncomfortable enough that she said that to me. And then it got me into my belief about, oh, I'm supposed to be liked by everyone, or everyone should like me. And I caught myself and I reframed it. And I said, I don't care if everyone likes me. If somebody likes me, great. If somebody doesn't like me, great. And as soon as I switched that up, all of a sudden people could say something to me. And because I adopted the new belief, I don't care if everyone likes me, the whole scenario shifted. I didn't become emotional. I didn't feel rejected. I didn't feel those things. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like that point of contraction, that's the lean in.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, there, like, literally everything that you said is what this whole podcast is about, updating your belief system, because we adapt these beliefs when we're children. We may have got teased at school, or our parents, like my story, like I came out, I'm a very colorful person, obviously.
Love it.
And I came out dressed like first day of school, and I had on all these like colors and did a little like flip or twirl in my hair or something. And like my mom was like, I wouldn't wear it. And right there, that belief of I'm too much, I'm too bold, I'm too colorful. And so that is my story. I toned myself down because I felt like I have to tone myself down to be accepted or liked or loved. And so I feel like the work is undoing the belief system, undoing the pre-programming that we gained usually as children. So yeah, so powerful, so powerful. I love it.
Yeah, and unleash is really that energy that runs through every single one of us. So if you think about unleash, right, it's this unlimited, it's like freedom, right? And so it's a pattern interrupt. And if we can allow that energy to run through us, to pattern interrupt all of the programs that we've ever done, it's like, oh, that feels scary, let me go do it. That feels scary, let me go do that. Because there's a gift on the other side of that for you, right? And that, exactly what you mentioned, that one little comment created the belief that you're too much. It's like, oh my God, be all of who you are, like in every single cell of your being. That's exactly who you're intended to be. And it's never about you're too much, because that has run its course in me so much. And I get that so much. It's like, look, here's the thing. Let's say there's a cup of water and there's a gallon of water. Okay. I'm the gallon of water that can't quite fit into the cup. So people say you're too much. I'm like, actually, I'm just going to go hang out with more gallons of water, because I can't pour all of myself into your tiny cup. It's actually, you haven't caught up to your fullest expression. That's what that is. It's like, no, actually rise up to meet me, and you'll stop believing that I'm too much.
Yes.
I'm not too much.
I love it. Expand your capacity to take in more.
Exactly. Expand your capacity to take in
Yes.
more.
Oh my God, I love it. So where do you hold the Unleash events?
Okay, so I was holding them in LA, and people actually started to catch on. They were flying in from the East Coast, and like I was like, wow, like it's really cool because there's also ecstatic dance, and each one has its own flavor. And thank God for ecstatic dance that has paved a way for me to then show up at my fullest capacity. Because Unleash is slightly different in the sense that it's a guided transformational dance journey. It's highly intentional. The idea and the core belief is so that you step into your power. And if everyone in the room is dancing to step fully into their power, it's powerful, right?
Yes.
So people were coming in to LA, and now I'm in Utah at the moment just because I'm following divine guidance. I'm following flow. I'm literally allowing my channel to be directed wherever it wants to be. And I came with a friend who really loved Unleash, and he was inspired by it. And he's like, I want you to bring this to Utah. I'm like, cool, let's do it. Quarantine happened, the whole thing. And it was just like, well, the warehouse where we were going to do it is a closed container. So COVID, blah, blah, blah. The restrictions of that. And then as soon as I was like, let's do it outside in the salt flats.
Oh my God,
So
yes.
Unleash is like its own thing where it continues to evolve. And I'm like, all right, let's do that, Unleash. Let's go out into the salt flats, into this vast spaciousness. And now it's not a 4-hour experience, the one that I'm currently doing right now in Utah. It's a overnight sunset to sunrise experience that I'm doing. And this one is specifically for 33 people. That's just the way it wants to be right now, because I've had 180 people in the space. But right now, it's a new opportunity to expand in whatever it wants to be. So I'm like, all right, 33 people, because the thing is no more than 50, but I chose 33 for X reason. And we're going to dance like Burning Man style, where there's no limitation. And I feel like it's going to be done from city to city. So I would love for people, if they have an event happening and they want me to come out and even do Unleash at their event, I would be more than happy to do that, because I see Unleash traveling. I see Unleash going globally throughout the world, just activating, sparking people. The energy that runs through me right now is in all of us. And all I'm doing is showing up in the frequency to activate the space. It's not, it's like, it's not even, it's like, yes, it's unique to me, but it's like people will gain their uniqueness, whatever they are, through this experience. And so right now it's happening virtually, and I have a couple of events that Unleash has also been invited virtually.
So what is the Unleash website if someone wants to find out and just keep track of when your next few events are?
I would actually suggest that people connect with me through Instagram. The website is currently being built because I had the soulbodymethod.com, and people could still go into that, because there's a lot of people that still come to me for coaching around their bodies. That is part of unleashing, because if we're uncomfortable in our own body, it's hard for you to express yourself to your fullest, right? So any limitations that you got, we can undo all of that, right? So the soulbodymethod.com, and at Unleash Movement, without an ED, Unleash Movement all together, and at Coach Yari. You're going to find in there a lot of the videos so that you can feel the frequency of even what you're talking about, like that draw that you felt. It's a frequency, and abundance is a frequency. Abundance is a state of being as well. It's you are the currency, you are the value. People hire me because I'm in a flow, in a currency, right? And this is the frequency of that. People hire you because they see you are the value. So how can you upgrade your frequency for all of the abundance to come to you?
Oh my goodness. Can I just say I love you?
I love
Like,
you
I
back.
freaking, like, I can't even put into words, like, just what is going on in my body right now. Like, when I saw the video, like, it definitely, like, I felt it. And I'm like, I have to know this woman. Like, she is so magical.
I hope that this translates and people really get this. And if, you know, obviously you have questions, feel free to message me on Instagram. And yeah.
Yeah. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Yari is spelled Yari, but I will have all of her links in the show notes. Thank you so much. This was, I mean, I feel like this inspired me. So I know it's going to inspire the M&Ms because I feel every single thing you're saying, and I am looking forward to going to Unleash because my body is like, yes, like that next level of full expression. Cause I feel like I'm pretty full expressed, but in a safe way. And there is a part of me that literally is craving.
Just fucking messy.
Yes.
Fucking messy. You know, like just let it all out. Oh, and one last little bit.
Yes.
Was like, I want if everyone on here can check out my new released, it's a spoken word, but it sort of became a song on Spotify. If you go to Yarixa, which is my full name, Yarixa on Spotify, it's called Unleash Me. And this has come through and been born from the continuous unleashing of myself. I did not consider myself an artist before this. All of a sudden, I'm an artist. All of a sudden, I'm putting out songs on Spotify. All of a sudden, I'm now recording a song with a friend. Things that I knew were possible, but it's those steps. So please, if you can go to Spotify, share that, Unleash Me, and get ready for it because it's fucking unleashed, that one. Yeah.
I will definitely have the link for that in the show notes. Oh my goodness. So before we wrap up, are there any last tips for living an abundant life or an unleashed life? Any last thing you want to share with the listeners?
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your heart's desire. Follow the feeling. Follow the feeling. Follow the feeling. Follow the feeling. I could repeat that over and over. Do not question it. Just go do that.
I love it. Thank you so much. I love what you're doing. You inspire me so much. I can't even put it into words. So thank you so much for joining us. And M&Ms, you definitely want to follow this woman. She is amazing, magical, goddess, like all of the things. And it's an inspiration. When you allow yourself to be free, you give other people the courage to do the same. So I love what you're doing.
Boom. Boom. I love it. Yes. Oh, shit. Can I say just one last thing
Of
to
course.
cap that off? Shit. It's so important. When you embrace your individuality, you create unity in the world. Because when you lose judgment for yourself, you have an acceptance for others. So just want to leave it with that. Thank you. Beautiful. You're such a goddess yourself. Like, you inspire me. Thank you so much.
Mic drop. That was like the perfect thing to end it on. Thank you so much. All right, M&Ms, until next time, be decadent. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.